The badly timed losing streak for the San Jose Sharks now reaches 5 games and worse. No points in any of those 5, and they are now in a deficit. You thought maybe they would control their own destiny if they could start winning games. They are now going to need a lot of help if they get into the playoff and into the wild card race. Welcome into Toyota Sharks Postgame Live. Alan Hoshida with Nick Nollenberger, voice of the San Jose Barracuda. And I think maybe that is the most disappointing thing, is this was a big game. Everyone kind of circled it. And about, a week ago, Tuesday, against the Edmonton Oilers, also another big game that the San Jose Sharks had an opportunity to raise their floor and show that there was a higher ceiling that they had coming into this year. In both instances, they could not rise to the occasion. Yeah,
it's that time of year where games are that much harder to win. It's tighter, it's more physical, there's less time, and for the Sharks, they just fell behind the 8 ball too early. They made too many early mistakes. I don't know if it was nerves, I don't know if it was being in a hostile building, or it was just bad luck, but they were behind so early, and they really gave up so many mistakes off turnovers, those chances early, that it was just too much to overcome. So that first period, it's hard to really have much say on the rest of the game because Nashville's going to take their foot off the pedal a little bit. But for the Sharks, it was such a tough start. It's just there's no way to dig out of it. And then Saros is an elite goaltender, and he just shut the door.
And credit to the Preds. They're a veteran team. Steve Stamkos obviously has won some Stanley Cups. Roman Josi has been back there and been a tormentor of the San Jose Sharks for a very long time. And they knew what they needed to do. And maybe that's the difference, is the Preds are a veteran group, and the San Jose Sharks are still learning. Despite everything that we've talked about this season, they're still learning what it takes to get to the point they need to get to and win these games down the stretch.
I thought it was a great point from Randy. I mean, this year is a win no matter what happens. Now, if the Sharks make the playoffs, that's amazing, and what a year it would be. And it's really on the back of a 19-year-old who's just become a superstar in this league. If they don't make the playoffs, it's not the end of the world, because I think they're still right on track as part of this rebuild. Really, they're still going through this rebuild. These young players are learning how to win, learning how to be consistent pros. And if you don't, again, make the postseason, I think it's still a big success, because you have a team that has essentially been at the bottom of the NHL for the last couple of years and going through a multi-year rebuild. Now they're right on the brink of making a postseason run. So, I mean, there's a lot to think positive. Season's not over. They're not mathematically eliminated, but tonight's a tough one.
I do want to say, though, as good as the season's gone overall, you don't want to end up on a 10-game losing streak or a 7-game losing streak. You still want to carry momentum into that offseason. So the Sharks need to turn this thing around, because they still have an outside chance into the playoff picture and the Pacific Division. We've talked about still not world beaters by any chance this year. So there's some positivity there. They just have to find their game, and maybe the last 2 periods they get there, but it was the first period, the Toyota turning point. You go back to the first 20 minutes of hockey, 5 different Nashville Predators score. It was turnovers in their own zone, left and right. It was work ethic. It was just a bad period of hockey from San Jose, and the Preds capitalized on every single chance.
Yeah, without question. And when you give up 5 goals in a period, 5 different goal scorers, all at full strength, it's hard to say that it's all related to bounces. But the Sharks made some mistakes. They also did not get any bounces to go their way. The puck was just bouncing every which way, but not on their stick. And plays weren't being converted, mistakes were being made. And it happened so early. That first goal, I thought, was such a deflator because of the way it happened. It was unfortunate for Sam Dickett to just kind of fan on a pass up the wall, and it ends up in the back of the Sharks' net. And you knew they were, I don't want to say fragile, but this was such a big game. And the way things have been going, that's a tough way to start a game, and it just felt like it impacted them throughout the remainder of that first period, and ultimately they gave up 5 goals. And that's, with UC Saros in the net on the other side, one of the very best in the league, that feels like the game's over after 20 minutes.
And it wasn't like they were getting barraged by shots. It was 5 on 9 shots, and they only give up 19 in the entire game. And we've seen that kind of recently. They haven't been giving up a ton of shots. It's just the quality of shots that they're giving up and putting Alex Nedeljkovic in some tough spots.
Yeah, without question. I mean, if you circled the middle of the ice in those high-end areas, a lot of the chances were coming from there. Again, volume was not there. They didn't really have a ton of shots in that first period. What was the total after 20? 9. So 9, and they had 5 goals. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to put it all on Ned, because a lot of those chances were elite opportunities. But at the same time, it's tough. It's hard to look past the fact that you had 9 shots against and 5 were in the back of the net.
Maybe it's just you're playing the Nashville Predators. Right. And the San Jose Sharks have yet to figure out the Nashville Predators in some time. Service champions, what's hot? The longest win streaks versus one opponent. There you see the Nashville Predators over the San Jose Sharks 14 times. You also see the San Jose Sharks on the second one as well. Part of that is when you're in a rebuild, you know, the other teams that are very high quality are going to feast on you a little bit. But there's also just something to say about the San Jose Sharks facing that team with the yellow sweaters, and then you have this quality across the board. Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg, Steven Stamkos. Stamkos, of course, playing some of those games as a member of the Lightning. But they're putting up points left and right. There always seems to be Shark killers on the other side.
I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason behind it. It's a lot of travel. I mean, there's a lot of travel in the league anyway when you're on the West, but it's a Western Conference team, but you're basically going the entire length of the country. Now, I don't know if that's the reason behind it. It's a tough building to play in. It's had a great atmosphere. They really support the team. Sometimes there's just no rhyme or reason why you struggle with a particular team, because every year there's a lot of turnover with rosters. Yeah. Yet the Sharks have just had trouble with the Preds for quite some time now.
You could look at this two different ways. They play them 2 more times this season. Yes. 2 more chances to end that losing streak, or the other side of it. But we don't want to talk about that. No, we just talk about the positive, because here is, after this game, the San Jose Sharks are going to be in a tough spot. You look at the odds, but there's still chances, guys. There's still chances. This one feels heavy, and it feels like, man, all that air is out of the balloon. But 9.3, still saying there's a chance, Nick Nollenberger.
Well, the thing is, I think, for the Sharks is you can scoreboard watch all you want. You can look at what's going on in the division. But at this point for the Sharks, they really can't worry about anybody else but themselves. They've lost now 5 in a row. They had a real chance to slide into that final wild card spot. Now they're 7 points out. Yeah. Now they play Nashville 2 more times. Nashville's got some Pacific Division opponents coming up. They're all going to kind of cannibalize each other. But it all ends up landing on the Sharks. Can they take care of their own business? Can they dig their way out of what has been a little bit of a rut? Yeah. They've got 2 more games on this road trip, St. Louis in a couple of days. Then they finish up against a very good Columbus team. But you've got to take it 1 game at a time at this point. You got to try to get back on track.
I've been saying for about 2 weeks, I think 90 to 92 gets you in. Since about 20 game mark. They're now going to need to win about 9 or 10 of those games and go into overtime in the other ones. So it's going to be tough. But the San Jose Sharks are in it, and they've had a very quality season up to this point. How confident are the fans? The Toyota fan poll question on Instagram. Hopeful, but is a long shot, and that's kind of where things stand. The other side of that, though, there's also another pick on the board there if you do not make the playoffs. So, like you said, they're in a good spot. They could thread the needle a little bit, keep fighting for a playoff chance, and see what happens with everyone else. Let's go back out to Smashville and hear from Randy and Drew.
The Sharks only played 1 period poorly tonight, but it was the wrong one. It was the first one, and it didn't go their way at all. The Nashville Predators took advantage, it seemed, of every mistake the Sharks made, and they made their share, and the Sharks paid for it dearly tonight with a big loss.
Yeah, you're 100% right as usual. The fact that they did not execute anything with the puck. You know, puck management is always something we always talk about, and as you mentioned during the game, in that first period, the same old mistakes came creeping up today, and the Sharks didn't get a save, but they didn't give Alex Nedeljkovic any help. They gave the puck away too much. They didn't get any momentum going in their game except for that first goal. You thought, okay, good, got a goal. Had only scored 1 in the last 7 periods. So you thought, yeah, they're going. They didn't get going. And then after that, you're playing against the Nashville Predators, a veteran team that knows how to hold the lead with an outstanding goaltender. It was going to be almost impossible to come back. They gave a little bit of a push. There were some good things you looked at, but you're 100% right. And I think you brought up a really interesting point. It wouldn't be fair to say that they weren't ready to play, but they weren't ready to execute, and they were surprised at what Nashville pushed with.
And maybe with as much as was on the line tonight, they weren't ready for the moment. And that's the sign of a young team, an inexperienced team, and as many good things that have happened this year, the Sharks are still those things. This is a young group, and a group that needs to get better internally and probably externally as well, with players coming into the organization or from the development of the American Hockey League. That is it from here in Nashville. A tough loss. The Sharks needed this win. They needed it badly. They are really up against it now. But on we go to St. Louis. We'll come to you there on Thursday, and we'll see you then.
Thanks so much, Mancini's Highlight Zone. If there is a silver lining to this whole thing, it's that Will Smith got going. It had been 9 games where he hadn't scored a goal. He gets 2 tonight. And if there is going to be a chance that they flip the script and they do something magical here in the final 13, which, hey, let's make some magic happen. Will Smith is going to be a part of that.
He's been one of the really bright spots this season. We saw him last year. The first half of his first NHL season, it was tough sledding. Figured it out in the back half. He's carried it over this year, and he's having his best season yet. I know it's only 2, but you want to see incremental growth, and we've seen a huge step from him this year. He went through that little bit of a dry spell. Good to see him get on the board, not once, but twice tonight.
So he has more goals. He's 1 away from assists, so more points, obviously, more time on ice, and in about 20 less games, 18 different less games. So yes, he had his struggle there for not scoring goals, but as we've seen with goal scorers as well, when they start scoring, they score in bunches.
Well, he's a guy you aren't concerned about when he's going through a little bit of a slump because he has such elite skill. He thinks the game at such a high level as well. He's a young player still. I think sometimes we forget that, especially when you're in a playoff race and you're looking for your big guys to impact the game. Went through a little bit of a stretch, a little bit of a struggle, but again, you know that he's going to break through eventually. And you heard of him talk to Drew before the game. You wouldn't know that he was not scoring and the offense wasn't there. He's a very confident young player, confident young man, and good to see him again get off the schneid. You're looking for positives. You're looking for guys to step up, and you needed a game from Smitty, and you got a couple to go.
And a reminder of what this team and who they're relying on. They have a 19-year-old center. They have a 20-year-old left wing. They have a 21-year-old right wing as their top line. Michael Meese is going through this for the first time. William Eklund's been in the league, but he's going through this for the first time. Sam Dickinson, you can go down the list, and this is also an indication that the San Jose Sharks are relying on players to be difference makers that are very young in their NHL careers, and some of this you have to expect. It's not going to be out of the realm of what happens nightly. Alex Nedeljkovic has played very well for the San Jose Sharks. Been a little tough here lately, but here he is with some reaction right now.
Let alone a whole period in this league, especially against a team that's playing pretty well like them, and for us, we're fighting for points, we're fighting for our lives right now. So we didn't show up.
Was there something pre-game? How were you guys feeling? You said that you guys weren't ready to play. Anything you could sense, I guess, before the game?
I don't know. I don't know.
Just for yourself, any of those goals that you kind of want back, that maybe you saw that you want back?
Yeah, I'd like them all back. I mean, we're fighting for our lives, like I said, right? Like, I'd love to save every puck. It feels like, that's something that we probably need right now to get out of this slump. So, we got to have a night where we figure out a way to make every save, and it's not always going to happen. They make a nice play. We don't get the puck out of the zone in the first one. They make a nice play, tic-tac-toe back. They find a guy back door. Maybe the second one, 2-on-1. Yeah, I'd love to have that one a shot that beats me clean. That could be maybe a little bit of momentum changer. Maybe it stops their momentum a bit. It stays 1-1. The third one, we don't get a puck out of the zone again. One of the best defensemen in the league gets a puck. We don't want to pay the price to get the puck out or block a shot, and he's able to pull it around us and find a lane to score. I don't know. I could go on. We didn't come ready to play in the first period, and that's what happens in this league when you don't come.
After the first, it seemed like there was more of a north-south game from you guys. So was that the message after the first period?
That was how we have to play the entire from here going forward. I mean, it's simple hockey. We didn't. We get the puck in the zone, and then we're free to make plays. Absolutely, we have a lot of skill in this locker room, a lot of talent. When we get in the zone, that's where the creativity is going to come out. But we have to get in the zone first of all. We can't take pucks back. We can't delay momentum, delay, and it just sets them up into their system and their structure that they want to get in, and then we're trying to figure out what we're trying to do. We got 5 guys on 5 different pages, and it's not winning hockey. So, you saw in the second. Yeah, they probably sat back a little bit there in the second and third period. They got a 4-goal lead after both periods. They weren't cheating the game. They weren't going to cheat for offense, and it's hard. And we controlled a lot of the play, and we started putting pucks on net, and chaos ensued. We got a few goals just because we put pucks to the net. That's how you're going to win, and that's how you're going to score at this time of year. You're not going to score pretty goals like, making 3-4 passes in zone and finding a guy wide open back door. It's just not going to happen. So we need to take what we can from these last 2 periods and find a way to just move on.
Do you feel like the last couple weeks or so?
Got to get a little more ugly out there. Coming up on Toyota Sharks Postgame Live, we'll hear from Sam Dickinson on his night in Music City.